This is our fifth Career Stories workshop. When we started Konnections Certification, this was truly not part of what our plan was, which that's what life is, right? But we said, since we can't get out there and shake hands and make eye contact, real eye contact, and do all the things that we normally want to do in networking, well, how can we still teach our young adults to hear the stories and connect with our amazing experts in the world? The common thread that we have seen in these 5 workshops is that failure's okay. It's actually applauded, and succession and learning experiences are usually through failure. So that's just been kind of a fun message that that we've all been learning, including our amazing young adults that we're calling connectees. And that's kind of it. We're just kind of winging it, because until we can get back out there again, let's just learn from each other and love and support each other and kind of move forward. Andrew, would you be willing to start and tell your career story first?
Sure, Kimberly. Thank you. And hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Andrew McCauley. As you can tell, I've got an accent. I'm from Texas. No, not really. I am from Australia. I live over here in the desert now. I've been in the US for 13 years. My original career was in hospitality. I started very young in hospitality in Australia. I managed hotels and pubs and nightclubs. I managed the biggest nightclub in the Southern Hemisphere for a period of time, for a couple of years actually. 17 years I was in hospitality, and it was good and exciting for me at the time. But then I got to a point where I didn't want to be working around the clock all night, every night. And I was losing some interest in all of that sort of stuff. So in about 2006, I got out of hospitality and I started my own business consulting business back then. And one of my very first customers said to me, Andrew, can you help us with this thing? We see some people are making money on this thing called Facebook. Can you help us? Now, remember, this is 2006 when Facebook wasn't even around. YouTube was a baby. And I said, yeah, of course I can help you. So I went back and I Googled what is Facebook, because I had no idea what it was. But I loved marketing, and I loved the way that Facebook was using to connect with people. And I thought this was fascinating. And it was about that period of time where I also got a contracted job with a large speaking company that traveled the world. And for the next 5 years, I was not only doing Facebook, I was looking at Facebook, but I was teaching. I was able to teach people how to use Facebook for their business, how to use Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, all the social platforms. And while I was working for this speaking company, I was able to go and run my own events. You know, if we did a speaking event in Ireland, I would go and run a social media class in 2007, 2008. And the cool thing is that, you know, I look back at my friends on Facebook right now, and we're talking about networking. I look back at my friends on Facebook. I've got nearly 5,000 friends. I'm happy to say that I actually know most of them. Because of all these events that I was able to travel the world, I've got friends all over the world that I physically have met. And there's a few people that I haven't met on Facebook, but most of them I actually know and have some sort of connection with them. And when I was doing these events, one of the very first things I learned when I got out of hotels was that your network is your net worth. And I really grabbed that. I really thought, you know what, I've got this ability, I've got a chance to meet people in this job, in this gig that I was doing. I've actually got a chance to meet people. And with the advent of Facebook coming on, I'm like, wow, what a perfect Rolodex for me to stick these people's names and collect these people, if you like. And so, you know, I looked a lot at people like Jim Rohn, who spoke about you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And I looked at who I was hanging out with at the time and thought, you know what, I've got to change that, because it wasn't the best 5 people maybe. Mind you, I'm still friends with these people. I just don't hang out with them as much. But that piece of information there back in 2007, I think it was something that really stuck with me for a long time. And now, you know, I go to network. I met Kimberly. I've met you a bunch of times at different things. You know, I go to different networking events, but I find that is the one thing. And if you speak to anybody, and with my business right now, so we do a lot of online marketing, but one of the most common things is that people are still referring people to business. And the only reason you get referrals is when you start networking, when you start hanging out with people. So that's if I'm going to give any advice at all, it's like learn how to be able to connect with people so that you can have that rapport, that establishment, that connection with those people, so that you may not need them today, you may not need them next week, but one day maybe one of your friends or some acquaintance needs that person's services. And there's nothing better to be able to refer somebody who you can know, like, and trust to do a job for that person. So that's it in a nutshell, Kim. I don't know if you want me to go any deeper than that, but that's sort of where I've landed. And I know that networking is one of the best things I've ever done for my business.
Oh, absolutely. I love your story, and I love how you evolved from hospitality and that 24/7 career. I'm a hotel management major. I get it more than you can imagine. So I get what you're saying, absolutely. And then to evolve into using something that you truly Googled to find out what it was. I mean, how inspiring, right? That's awesome.
Well, I'd never heard of it. It was one of those things like, what the hell is this Facebook thing? MySpace was around, but someone said this Facebook, and I'm like, wow, whatever. And I looked at it, there was some guys making money on it. I'm like, wow, I want to be those people. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
And,
Using your gifts. I love it. I love it. And you've done a great job. And your company now has helped so many other businesses and helping get them a representation. That's awesome. Well, great. Well, good. We'll come back for question and answers if that's okay.
Sure.
Kim, could you tell your career path story?
Sure. And Andrew, I'm glad we're going to have a commonality here because I've got hospitality in mine as well that then kind of branched into nonprofit. But so I am a desert native. I was actually born in Riverside, but my dad grew up here. So we moved here when I was 1, and I went through school, graduated Palm Springs High School, and I loved the desert, and I was really shy when I was in high school. So I ended up going to the University of San Diego, and when I graduated with my degree in English, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I moved home. In fact, embarrassing, when I looked back at my college yearbook, senior year picture actually said undecided as my major. So it took a while. But I, again, got back here and just started working. And I did a couple of I worked for an architect who was a family friend, who ended up being kind of one of the mid-century modern gurus in the desert, which I didn't know at the time. So I did that. I taught myself how to type while I did that. And then worked in a flower shop for about 9 months because my mom had done that and she said it was kind of fun, and I'm glad I had that experience. And then I worked for Sunrise Company, which is a developer of condominiums out here, for 11 months. And I think that was one of the best jobs I ever had because I worked in a customer service office, and Sunrise warranties their homes for a year. And within that year, if anything goes wrong, the owners can come into customer service and complain about it and get it fixed. And so I was still very shy then, but I learned how to listen to people and understand what their problems were and then figure out how to help them solve it, which was a great skill. And then I ended up working at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. When I was a young girl, my dad was involved in city government, and it was about the time when they started the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Palm Springs. And I had a chance as like a 9 or 10-year-old to meet the guy who was in charge. And I was just fascinated by the fact that there could be a job where your role was to go out and tell people about how great Palm Springs was and encourage them to come and visit. So it ended up then, after I got out of college, that I did an internship. And the internship with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, at the end of it, it happened that they had an opening in promotions. And so I started my career with them. And I think a job in hospitality or hospitality sales is an awesome initial opportunity for students for skills that you'll be able to use no matter what you do in your career. And I was there for 13 years. I had 7 different positions, everything from tourism sales manager to communications manager, working with travel agents. And I was also the film commissioner for 10 years for the greater Palm Springs area. And like Andrew said, that ability to meet people and talk to people and help them make connections and solve problems over the course of that part of my career, you just get to know a lot of people. And when they talk about you've got a Rolodex, your Rolodex is every person that you have ever interacted with, that you've done something with. And going back to Andrew and the 5,000 people he has on Facebook that he knows, that's absolutely where you are now. And at some point in time, you will have that same situation. So I think I just encourage everybody to keep building those connections and maintaining them, because it will serve you well no matter what you do. After I finished the Convention Bureau, I ended up doing 5 years in professional services marketing for a local CPA firm. And I was the only marketing person working amongst a group of people who loved numbers and to be by themselves. And so that was a really interesting career opportunity. But in doing that, I was our community liaison, and our company sponsored a number of events in the Valley. So again, I got to work with folks in the Convention and Visitor, in the Chambers of Commerce and other business entities, and made a lot of connections. And then ultimately, when Coachella Valley Economic Partnership got a grant to start a Career Pathways initiative 15 years ago, they asked me to come on board and help launch that initiative. And so here we are 15 years later, and that initial work has now spun off into our own nonprofit, which is OneFuture Coachella Valley. And we work to help create success for our students. And that's by supporting scholarship and student support services for kids who are in college, and then helping younger students in middle school and high school think about their career path. And we work closely with the K-12 districts and the career academies. So lots of different things that I've done, but I think the common denominator is that I too enjoy people. I share that I used to be very shy, because in my job at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I was so shy that when we had to welcome new members to our organization, we would sit around a boardroom table with maybe 3 new members, probably a group much like this, and each of the staff people had to just share 2 or 3 minutes about what we could do for those members. And I got so nervous that I couldn't speak, and my legs were literally shaking under the table. So people that hear that now and know what I do say, I can't picture that. But I share it just to say that if there are things that you're not comfortable with now, don't let that stop you. Part of the reason I left the Convention Bureau was because I had an opportunity to promote up. But if I promoted up, I would have had to give presentations at board meetings and speak in public, and I was just terrified. So just know that you don't let those things sort of limit you. Anything you want to do, you can do. You just have to get out there and practice it. And pretty soon, something that was really difficult will become easy, and you can become pretty proficient at it. So I agree that I think networking is critical. Being comfortable talking to people, following up, and then maintaining that list of contacts that you develop is essential. And it'll be fun to look back many years later and go, oh my gosh, I knew you from so-and-so, and help connect them to other friends.
Absolutely. I love it. Kim and I have known each other since our babies were in preschool. So it's just been fun. And she's really what inspired me to see the need of this connection between students and businesses. So when you tell your story, it sure shows how you've seen that need, and you were the perfect person to go into CVEP and then OneFuture, because you're just a good cheerleader for those kids, and you're great at making the connections and see the importance of networking. It's awesome. All right, well, thank you, Kim. We'll do question and answers here after we hear from our amazing Brian Murphy. Could you tell us your career path, Brian?
Sure, thanks for having me, Kimberly. And Kim and Andrew, great job. I think I know everybody on this call from networking in the Coachella Valley, so we can talk about that a little bit later. But I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, a little street called 8 Mile, and went to high school there. And if you're from Detroit, there's a good chance you're going to wind up in the car business, which I did. But really, when I got done with high school, I think the first thing I had to really think about was education. And if you're as old as I am, parents put a lot of pressure on their kids to go to college. You know, I graduated high school in 1979. So, I looked at that. Was that something I wanted to do? Would that help me reach my goals? And I decided it did. So I went to a small private school in Michigan, got my undergraduate degree in business, and then went on and got a master's degree in business as well. And I think that served me well. And I think for young adults growing up today, though, that's something you really got to look at and just see if it makes sense for you. You know, is college right? Is it wrong? There's so many opportunities now to get college education online. So there's a lot of different things you can look at today to see how that fits into your goals. And hopefully young adults are developing, their life plan for their career now. So you can always have that end goal in mind as to where you're trying to get to. But like I said, I grew up in Detroit. My first job was at a place called Kmart. Most of you don't know what that is. You're too beautiful and young on this call, but it's kind of like a Target. I think there's like 3 left in the United States, but I was a security guard at 16 and worked the register. I always liked to earn my own money. It gave me some self-confidence. I didn't like going to my parents for money. I just wanted to kind of make my own way, and I'm glad I think my parents instilled that in me at an early age, although they were great and helped me out plenty. But after college, sure enough, I got in the car business. I worked for Ford Motor Company. I worked for Toyota, always on the financial side. And I went on to run car dealerships. So I kind of had some good perspectives. But I was always chasing the career, and that meant sacrifices. So young adults today, you got to kind of weigh, what you're getting yourself into. I moved 14 times. I grew up in Detroit. We moved to Atlanta, Chicago, Nashville, Minneapolis, Houston. Coming to you today from Park City, Utah. I lived here for 10 years. Then I went to California, back to Park City, California, Seattle, and then back to California, and that's where I am today. But, those were sacrifices I was willing to make to get to the top of the corporate ladder. And I always had a goal in mind that someday I would own my own business and stop the craziness of the travel and the moving. So in 2008, I bought a home out in Palm Desert and kind of had a plan that I would find a business out there to buy, which I did. And that's my Jimmy John's Gourmet Sandwiches. We own the shop there in Palm Desert and one in La Quinta. And that was very exciting to transition from the corporate world to owning my own business. But it was all those experiences I've had through 30 years of working in the car business that prepared me to own my own business, to learn about financial statements. My college education supported that. So I think I always had a plan as to where I was going. And if you don't have a plan, that's okay too. Just prepare yourself, look for opportunities, and more than anything, find something that you're passionate about, something that you really love. I loved the car business. I loved every day I was in it. But when it was time for me to do something on my own and be my own boss, I found Jimmy John's Sandwiches. So the most important thing is it's easy to sell something or represent something if you believe in the product and you're passionate about it. Then you never feel like you're going to work. You're just going to have fun and do something you enjoy. And that makes life really great. And you'll have opportunities to help people along the way, which is very rewarding as well, to be able to help people to get involved in nonprofit organizations, to have the ability to give to the community. So those are all the things that I think, make things really great. So find something you like, look at education. When you see an opportunity, it's okay if you grab it and you fail. You're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn from those mistakes and have great success just from learning that. Networking is super important to me. I belong to 4 different chambers in the Coachella Valley, 2 business networking groups, and then I'm involved in numerous nonprofits. And that's given me a chance to build relationships. And then sales just kind of find their way to me. People help people that are there for them. So we always try to make the community number one, our business partners number one, and build those relationships, and sales will follow. So that's sort of how I got to where I am today. I'm super happy. I feel fulfilled, and really, really excited that you invited me on this call today. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I love how you sure moved a lot. And thank goodness you ended up here in the Valley, because you are truly a gift to the Valley, and run into each other everywhere as far as networking groups, and your energy is contagious for sure. Do any of you have questions that you'd like to ask any of our speakers today?
Kim, what was your goal for being an English major?
I was good at it. And I didn't know I was good at it. When I was figuring out kind of, like Brian said, figure out what you like to do and what you enjoy doing. I loved to read growing up. And when I was actually, and I figured English, I thought maybe a communications major, but the college that I went to didn't really have, this was, I also graduated in 79, so I was in college in the early 80s, and they didn't really have intense majors on communication studies and that kind of thing. So I thought English would be good, and I figured that was a great foundation skill that I could use in a variety of ways. And I recommend it because I think you learn to think critically and you learn to communicate your ideas clearly, and that will serve you well no matter what you do. And I felt it could also give me an option if I decided I wanted to go into teaching. I didn't realize, where it would take me, but when I think back on my career path, that foundation is sort of what's led me through. When I was at the Convention Bureau, a part of my chunk of time there was communications manager, and I was writing articles and editing publications. A lot of those skills I learned on the job, but it was that foundation in English that sort of gave me the foundation for it.
And Jessica, where do you go to school?
It's College of the Desert.
That's right, College of the Desert. Great. Well, thank you so much. How about you, Sophia? Do you have any questions?
Probably for Kim as well. Right now, I think I have an idea with my major for school, but I'm also kind of concerned that I might go back into undecided. I've swapped it twice now, and I'm still bouncing it around. Should I just keep going in? I know how you said you looked at your senior picture and it said undecided underneath it as well. I don't understand, how did you, find English? I know you said you were good at it, but, did it kind of present itself to you, or you just decided to go after it and give it a shot?
My freshman year of college, they grouped us into a sort of a freshman synthesis class, and mine happened to be English. And at the end of that first semester, my professor walked up to me. Actually, on one of my papers, he wrote, are you an English major? You should consider it. And I thought, so I followed him afterwards and I said, tell me a little bit more about that. And he just explained that he thought I would do well there. And here, I'll say this about now and being undecided. Always be mindful. It's okay to switch your major, but always be mindful on graduating in 4 years. So I was always thinking about looking at what my GE classes were and what classes I had that lined up to make sure that I could graduate with my bachelor's in 4 years, and then align them where they fell. It happened to be English. I ended up graduating with a degree in English, but I was one class short of a minor in French and a minor in religious studies, and I had started taking classes to become a teacher. So at the end of the day, I was just being strategic about this degree, I have the credits to line up here. So I just be mindful of where you are with what the requirements are for graduation and where those classes will line up. And if it ends up that it's something generic like in English, I think that's absolutely fine, because it's a stepping stone onto where you want to go. But I would say mostly be mindful of getting out as efficiently as you can. Sometimes kids are undecided and they just keep taking classes and classes and classes, and that only tends to accrue more debt and delay. So in fact, when I started at the Convention Bureau, the gentleman that hired me said, I don't so much care what your degree is in, I just care that you graduated because it shows me that you can complete something. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. So, things have probably changed where we are now, but I would just say you can be undecided, but get to a point where you decide and commit to how you're going to complete this section of it, and then get that degree and then move on.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could add too, on top of that, I when my daughter went to school, I found that she held a lot of the really hard classes towards her senior year. Don't do that either. Get some of those tough requirements out of the way early.
Trying to get my Senate done.
While your brain's is still excited about doing it.
Yeah.
Wendy, tell us what company you're with.
I actually do two things, and I just actually started my own company, and I work from home remotely. So, work remotely with Wendy. Kimberly helped me come up with it. So, so I do administrative work for a nonprofit organization here at home, and I also have a direct sales company that I work for, and I sell smart coffee and cocoa and capsules that can give you energy. And then I also sell Sweet Dreams and gives you good night's sleep, and Slim Tea, which helps detox you. And I give samples, so let me know if you're interested. So
Thank you, Wendy.
thank you for letting me say that.
Clayton had said after the last Zoom that he wanted to know what your favorite reading materials are at the time. So if each speaker could tell us that.
I'll start.
Sure.
I'm actually reading a book now that I read 20 years ago. And the reason I'm reading it is because my son, who is 10 years old, is reading it as well. And that's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. So I'm excited that he is looking at, he loves it. He's got his own little business, and he's learning all about money and that sort of stuff. So I'm reading it again with him right now. And it's fascinating to see what I thought I learned 20 years ago. Is a little bit of a different after going through a lot in the last 20 years. My perspective on what the teachings were, because I think it's a book that changed my life, and I'm excited now that it's sort of refocusing my life again too. So that's my current book that I'm reading with my son.
I love that. I love that you have that different perspective of reading it before. It's bookends that, you read it and, not far off from his age at the time. And then now you can tell him, okay, this is what I've been through, and apply it. I love that.
I wish I was that young. I wish I was that young when I read it.
In the realm. How about you, Brian? Are you reading anything right now?
Well, I spend most of my time, if I'm going to read and I'm sorry for the background noise here. I'm challenged for a place to do this call, but I spend a lot of time with people like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and I think that's because I feed off of people that are highly motivated and have unique approaches to business. So both of those individuals not only get you excited about the future and what you can accomplish and help you reset your goals, but they always have real tangible messages that you can apply to your own business or your own career, no matter what your age. You could be going to college of the desert, and you're going to get motivated, and it's going to make you take a real hard look at yourself. Are you really working as hard as you think you're working? Are you really, reaching for the stars, or are you limiting yourself? And so I spend time with people like that if I'm reading or watching videos because it gets me pumped up, and it really has inspired me to do more, not just for myself, but for other people. And so that's the type of stuff I read and listen to.
Love that. How about you, Kim? Anything in particular right now?
From work stuff, I'm currently, in fact, I've got a copy here. My new favorite is You Don't Have to Be a Doctor by Jeff Oxendine. We work with Jeff on our OneFuture Health Career Connection summer internship programs. And what I like about this is for students, it's got some really practical tools to help you sort of walk through discerning what it is you're passionate about, what you like to do. And even if you're not looking at a career in healthcare, I think the steps he's walking you through are really great. So I'm going to look for ways I can incorporate it into some of our mentoring pieces. But I love to read at night, and I'm sort of a tapas reader. I just finished, and I love history stuff. So I just read Custer and Crazy Horse, which was a great 500-page book about their relationship and the leaders coming up for the two things. It's interesting how much you see things have changed and stayed the same in that kind of a thing. And also I just read a little book called Our Araby, which was written by J. Smeaton Chase in 1920 about what Palm Springs was like then. And that was a cool little short diversion. But yeah, I like to play with that. So and travel. So I do reading for diversion when I'm not reading for work.
So I'm listening to a book on tape right now because I've been I have 32,000 projects going, And every time I sit down, I can't concentrate because I feel guilty. So I've decided to start doing books on tape, and then it's kind of like a podcast, right? So right now, Patricia Heaton, who was the mom on the middle, and with Raymond, she wrote it's called Second Act. And it's just all these women in their 50s and 60s that are just want to make a difference in the world, but are still at that point where you need a little income. And it's just been fun. It's all these different inspirational stories. So it's been kind of fun. I've been enjoying it. How about you, Omar?
This one is for Brian. Your story is very interesting. I'm very intrigued into your journey. You've come this far and you have a lot of experience. Being able to talk to us about that, and having anyone also talk about their experiences is very interesting. So my question is, how is that transition from being able to sell cars to having your own business in food? Well, I know they may be compatible in certain little things, but I just want to know how it was different for you.
Yeah, Omar, what a great question. I found it pretty easy. And the reason I think it was easy on one hand is because I was so well prepared. And I really had, the in-classroom education to help me understand business. And then in the car business, I did sell cars for a period of time. I was a finance manager. At the very end of my career, my last 5 years, I ran 11 car dealerships in the Los Angeles area. So, I spent my life with managing people, motivating people, understanding financial statements. So when it came to buying a sandwich shop, I think I was so prepared for identifying a business that maybe wasn't doing too good. And because of my experience, I was able to decipher what needed to be done in that business to make it successful. And it's not just sales. It's like, food costs. Are we spending too much? Rent, labor, insurance. You're looking at so many things, but I think I had such deep experience that it was easier for me to identify where I needed to make the changes. The hardest thing, I think, in any business always seems to come back to the people. It's hiring the right people. It's motivating the right people. There's really no bad employees. It's just some bad managers. So, if you're going to invest in someone to hire them, then you owe it to them to help develop them. Unless they do something, really immoral, take your time hiring people. But you're welcome to come over to Jimmy John's in Palm Desert anytime, and we can sit down and talk about all that stuff to do. And if I can be of any help, we'll just sit there and brainstorm. So you can call the store anytime. You can look up the number if you want to have a one-on-one. We'll just sit down and brainstorm on what we can do to help each other. So great question, Omar. Thanks.
This is also very intriguing to me. Running a business and getting the experience for someone that has gone through it. I'll make sure to call when I can. And, I would love to sit down to have a one-on-one.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'll be waiting by the phone.
Perfect.
That's awesome. And as all of you guys know, that's the kind of stuff that just makes my heart so happy. And I just think that it's all who we know and develop relationships with that determine our success in life. And I just think this small little setting right here is just a great example of that. So you guys are all awesome. I'm inspired by all of you, both the connectees, young adults, and the business professionals, and thank you so much.
Quick, I know Andrew McCauley from networking and his business partner, Jeff, have written a book. And if he could just give a little plug for that. I read the book, and it was helpful to me because my social media skills were lacking. But maybe he could give us a little pitch on that book because I found it really helpful.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes, Andrew, please.
Thanks, Murph. I've actually written 4 books. 4 books. You can get them on Amazon. The book that Murphy's referring to is actually called Reservations. It was specifically designed for a restaurant industry to help them market using some of the latest technologies and stuff out there. So if you're not in a restaurant, we're actually going to repurpose that book and do it for generic businesses as well. But if you went to Amazon and typed in my name, you'll find a couple of books there that I've written before. One of them was a bestseller, so I can say that I'm Amazon #1 bestseller.
Andrew, what's the name of your company?
SwingPoint Media. SwingPoint Media. SwingPoint Media. Yep.
Has to be a story in the name there, but I'll look you up. Thanks. And you do social marketing, social media marketing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we do all that sort of stuff, social media, online marketing, you name it. If it's been online, then there's a fair chance I've done it and played with it for a fair bit of time.
Great.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am Melanie Perez, the owner of SBF Payroll, Coachella Valley branch. So we work with small businesses, helping them save time and money on their payroll. So yeah, I'm here. If you have any questions, I always offer free quotes as well.
I'm just going to put a plug into all the students, because I actually met Murphy because Kimberly got me to join the chamber, and I started going to their networking luncheons, and it happened one day that I was in a bind and I needed to do something, and Murphy introduced himself and shared about what he did, and we connected right after that, and he's helped me out a bunch of times catering sandwiches and things. So just, again, be open to saying hello to people and listening to their stories, and you'll find a place to connect, and good things happen. So I appreciate it. Appreciate Kimberly.
So I met Brian Murphy it was a lunch bunch thing months back. We ended up becoming cornhole partners on okay, so one person, you meet, and then it leads to the next person that you meet. And one huge thing that I've learned in running my business is, networking is key. And I literally just did the numbers a couple days. I got 86% of my business through BNI networking. So that doesn't say a lot. I mean, I'm pretty sure it does, but it's all about the people you know and who you interact with, and you just establish those connections, and the profits will follow. So yeah, it's really important to establish those relationships.
Well, great. Well, that's awesome. I love that. I love when a numbers person can give numbers. That's awesome. I'll send out an email with everybody's contact information so you can continue to connect in whatever way you'd like. And thank you, everybody. You're all an inspiration, and have a great day. And thanks for coming.